Okay, picture this. A single sentence, spoken almost, well, casually on live TV,
Yeah.
and it just stops someone cold. Utterly speechless.
Yeah, not just a pause, like a real deep silence you could almost feel.
Exactly. And that specific moment with Perry Stone saying that one line about Joni Lamb live on Daystar,
Yeah.
it wasn't just awkward TV.
Oh, far from it.
It kicked off this huge storm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Christian world, really anyone who saw it, they just couldn't stop talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
It was fast, it was sharp, left people just stunned.
Before we move further in the podcast, we will appreciate if you subscribe to the channel. Also, share your thoughts in the comment section.
And what's so compelling when you look into it is why. Why could one sentence, just one short line, cause such enormous waves? The first reaction, like you said, it was shock. You felt it right through the screen.
Definitely.
But the real story, the thing we're really getting into today, isn't just the comment itself. It's what that moment kind of surfaced. It's like dropping a bit of dye into water, isn't it? Suddenly you see all these currents, these things that were there all along but hidden. It lit up these deeper dynamics, organizational things, questions that had been there for a while, just waiting for something to trigger them.
So that comment became a kind of magnifying glass.
Exactly.
So our mission today, for you listening, is to move past that initial, viral clip everyone saw. We want to peel back the layers here to really understand the issues that were already there inside Daystar, that this moment just, highlighted. This isn't just about some TV drama. It's about diving into, a mix of things, right? Family tensions, leadership calls, changes in programming.
And money, financial questions too.
Yeah, and the financial questions that our research shows had been sort of building up at Daystar for years.
Absolutely.
So this deep dive is really to help you understand not just what happened, but why it hit so hard, why it mattered so much. Okay, let's zoom in on that specific moment again. A lot of you listening have probably seen the clip online. It's hard to miss. It really is.
You can literally pinpoint the second Perry Stone's words land. It wasn't some long rant.
No.
It was just one sentence. Concise. Sharp. And it just landed.
Wow.
Yeah. You can almost feel the air sucked out of the studio, that shockwave going out. And Joni Lamb's silence in that moment.
Right.
Wow. It said more than words could have.
It really did.
It just shows the power, doesn't it, of one unexpected statement completely flipping the script in public.
And the fallout, the immediate reaction was pretty incredible.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as those words were out, reactions just poured in. Viewers, other ministries, social media just exploded.
Right.
Our sources talk about a sheer volume and intensity you rarely see. But what's really interesting,
What's that?
the reactions weren't all the same. They were split, deeply split, almost perfectly polarized, you could say.
Yeah. How so?
Well, on one side, you had viewers, commentators saying, yep, that's the truth, saying Perry Stone just spoke in an uncomfortable reality out loud.
They saw it as like courageous honesty, someone finally saying what maybe others were thinking privately, especially about the network's direction, perhaps.
Okay, so that's one side. What about the other?
The other side reacted just as strongly, but completely differently. They said it was unfair, inappropriate, even cruel, some said.
Cruel. Wow.
Yeah. To speak out like that so publicly against a colleague, especially in a ministry setting, they saw it as more of a personal attack, maybe, than constructive feedback. A betrayal of trust, perhaps.
So two totally opposite takes.
Exactly. But here's the thing. Despite those completely different views, everyone agreed on one point.
Which was?
It shook Daystar right to its foundations. Everyone felt that. And that kind of widespread, polarized reaction, it tells you something, doesn't it? It points to a deeper environment, a context where maybe people were already unsettled or had questions.
Yeah, but the ground was already fertile for something like this.
Precisely. It strongly suggests Perry's statement wasn't just some random comment falling into a vacuum.
Yeah.
It tapped into something that was already simmering there, under the surface. It basically gave a loud, public voice to conversations that were likely already happening, maybe more quietly, among the audience, maybe within the wider Christian community.
Okay, so that brings us to the big question, really, for all of us watching this unfold. Why did this single sentence hit with such force? Because like you said, if it was only about Joni Lamb personally, just an isolated remark, the reaction probably wouldn't have been that huge, right? Not so broad.
Unlikely, yeah.
It suggests something much bigger was going on, a buildup of issues that were already there.
Yeah.
And Perry's words just suddenly dragged them all out into the open.
Exactly.
It wasn't just about the spotlight on Joni. It was like Perry aimed a flashlight at the whole organization.
That's a good way to put it. If we connect the dots here, that one sentence really acted as a catalyst. A powerful one. It essentially pulled back the curtain on several long-running issues inside Daystar, things that sources suggest had been brewing, mostly behind the scenes for years.
Okay, like what kind of issues are we talking about?
Well, first off, it seemed to tap into and maybe expose some existing family tensions.
Ah, the family angle.
Yeah. Organizations, especially ones that are family-led or have such a strong family presence like Daystar often do, they can have really complex internal dynamics. It's natural.
Sure.
And sources suggest there had been whispers, rumors maybe, of disagreements internally, possibly around the roles or the increasing visibility of some of the younger family members, and how maybe that shifted the established structure a bit.
Right. Power dynamics changing.
Could be. And these conversations, which were likely private before, suddenly got this public airing when Perry's comments seemed to, touch on them. It amplified any existing friction, making it undeniably public. It's like a tiny crack in a dam suddenly becoming this huge release valve. All that pressure built up over years, just whoosh.
Yeah, I can definitely see how personal family stuff gets magnified under that kind of public glare.
Yeah.
Intense. But you mentioned it wasn't just family. Our sources also point towards leadership decisions being brought into sharper focus. What kind of decisions were maybe already being questioned before Perry even said anything?
That's a really key point. It wasn't just personal. The incident also, quite starkly, highlighted some underlying leadership decisions made over time. And some of these decisions had apparently already caused some quiet unhappiness or disagreement.
For instance?
Well, sources indicate there'd been some internal debate and even some public chatter about the network's strategic direction. Specifically, some people perceived a shift away from what they saw as Daystar's original, maybe more traditional evangelistic roots, towards something broader, maybe more entertainment-focused or lifestyle programming, perhaps.
Right, that kind of evolution happens, but it can be controversial.
Exactly. And this shift, driven by leadership, naturally led to questions. Questions about the core mission, maybe questions about financial stewardship in relation to that mission. So when Perry Stone made his comment, it kind of became this public lightning rod for those existing concerns about where the network was headed, its management style. It almost gave a voice to people, maybe viewers or supporters, who perhaps felt their own concerns weren't really being heard internally before that.
Huh. It's interesting how one public comment can suddenly crystallize all these other maybe less defined worries people had.
It really is fascinating.
So Perry Stone's remark didn't just point a finger, maybe, but gave a platform to concerns that lots of people already had, but maybe hadn't voiced so loudly, especially about the programming itself.
Precisely. And building on that, the statement got tangled up with specific programming shifts at Daystar that had been happening for a while.
Okay.
I mean, networks change, they evolve constantly, that's normal. But sources detail how Daystar had been making some quite noticeable changes to its schedule, phasing out some long-running, maybe quite popular teaching programs.
Right, the familiar face.
Yeah, and replacing them with newer content, sometimes more contemporary stuff, maybe more celebrity guests, that kind of thing.
Which can broaden appeal, potentially.
That would likely be the goal, yeah. But these shifts weren't universally loved. They were met with, let's say, mixed reactions, sometimes outright disapproval, especially from longtime viewers who felt like, their show or their trusted teacher was being pushed aside.
A feeling of losing something familiar.
Exactly, a sense of a changing of the guard, maybe, both on screen and possibly behind the scenes, too. Perry's words seemed to kind of pull all those separate points of unhappiness together. It made people step back and think about the bigger picture changes within the network, and how those changes were being perceived, or maybe misperceived, by the loyal audience base. The whole conversation shifted from being about specific shows to being symbolic of the network's overall trajectory.
Okay, and then there's the financial aspect.
Yeah.
Faith-based organizations often face intense scrutiny about money.
Always.
Our sources mention these long-standing financial questions surrounding Daystar. Did Perry's comment sort of inadvertently open the floodgates on those talks again, or was it more direct than that?
That's a crucial piece, and it's where all these layers, family, leadership, programming, really start to weave together. Sources do indicate that financial questions, or maybe let's call them discussions, had been circulating around Daystar for years, yeah.
Like what specifically?
Well, for example, reports had surfaced periodically over the years, sometimes questioning things like executive compensation levels.
Okay.
Particularly how that might look next to the network's public fundraising appeals, or questions about how specific donor funds were allocated, were they going to certain projects, maybe some family initiatives. There were also, going back further, discussions around some significant real estate purchases and the debt that came with them.
So these weren't new concerns necessarily.
Not entirely new, no. They existed in the public awareness, even if they weren't always the main headline. So when Perry's words ignited this whole public situation, those underlying financial discussions naturally bubbled back up for a lot of people. It connected the network's public image and this controversy directly back to its financial health, its accountability to donors, at least in the minds of many viewers.
Right.
So the controversy, whether Perry intended it or not, definitely put Daystar's finances under a much brighter, much harsher spotlight again. So what you really see here is that this one sentence didn't create these problems out of thin air.
Right.
It acted more like a pressure release valve, didn't it? Making issues that had been simmering privately for years suddenly very public, undeniable, and widely talked about. It was just this one moment that illuminated a whole complex web of challenges that were already connected.
Okay, wow. So let's just take a breath here. After unpacking all those layers, understanding the history kind of bubbling underneath, the central question that people were asking then, and are probably still asking now, is still hanging there, isn't it? Was Perry right to say it, or did he go too far?
That's the crux of it for many.
And that debate is still going on. You see it in comments, in discussions, across the Christian world, and maybe even wider. Because it touches on really tricky stuff, right?
Absolutely.
Truth-telling versus, I don't know, loyalty. Accountability versus public image. How ministries should handle conflict. It's complex. There's no easy answer that everyone agrees on. And maybe that's partly why this whole thing has had such lasting impact. Why it's still resonating long after the initial shock wore off.
And if you look at the bigger picture, the significance of this question goes way beyond just the individuals involved. Joni Lamb, her family, Perry Stone. It really impacts the future of the Daystar network itself. And frankly, it holds lessons, maybe warnings, for other similar public ministries too.
How so?
Well, public moments like this, especially today with social media and how fast information spreads, they can fundamentally change how people see an organization.
Right. Perceptions shift fast.
Instantly.
Yeah.
Our sources show how moments like these can become real turning points. They can influence a whole path of major institutions, major public figures. When these deep issues, the family stuff, the leadership calls, the programming changes, the money questions, when they burst into the open so dramatically, it forces some kind of reckoning, whether it happens internally or it's forced by outside pressure. It can definitely impact viewer trust. It can affect donor confidence. It shapes the whole story, the narrative of the organization for years, potentially.
It's quite something.
It really is. It's fascinating in a way how one, maybe even spontaneous comment can become this kind of historical marker, influencing public opinion, maybe even changing organizational strategy in really profound, lasting ways, long after the actual sound of the words has just faded.
Wow. What a journey this deep dive has been, really. We started with that single unforgettable sentence spoken live, and we've ended up unpacking this incredibly complex web. Organizational dynamics, leadership, family, finances, and the very real personal stakes involved.
Yeah.
It's just such a powerful reminder, isn't it? How quickly something private or semi-private can blow up into a huge public spectacle, and how deep the roots of an issue can actually go, even within institutions that seem so solid on the surface.
Absolutely. And maybe as we wrap this up, here's a thought to leave you with, something to mull over. What responsibility comes with that kind of power? The power of just a single public statement. Not just the power to cause immediate controversy, which it clearly did, but the power to expose issues that have been buried deep within an organization for a long time. The power to potentially change its public story, its future path, maybe forever.
That's a heavy responsibility.
It is. And maybe for those inside these kinds of organizations, what does an incident like this reveal about the long-term consequences?
Look.
The impact of maybe not addressing internal issues until they finally inevitably burst out into the public square.
A lot to think about there.
Definitely something worth considering.